Hello, hello my friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And yeah, another Halloween video. I didn't feel like running up a couple flights of stairs to change into my little skeleton shirt, so whatever. Plus I have too many other things to talk about. We're gonna dive right into it. I had a lot of fun making these cards, and I wanted to address, because I think it's better if I talk first, then try to explain while I'm showing what's going on. Glitter paste. So I have done many videos, well over a couple thousand. I have used glitter paste in all, and embossing paste in general, because there's, a bajillion different types of paste that you can use with your stencils or to create texture and all the things. And I have talked about it a lot and how to take care of them. Sometimes you can refresh them, everything else. But the first caveat to all of it is paste, unlike almost any other product, consumable product, in crafting, but I'm talking about paste, are not meant to last forever. Heck, a lot of them are not meant to last longer than, I don't even know. They don't say, none of the, because these aren't, a product that you put on your skin or eat or anything like that. There's no, sometimes those types of products will have a recommendation, once it's opened, it's good for 6 months. With paste, it's a different story. And glitter paste especially, and this I have talked about, glitter pastes are their kind of own little unique thing. Now, and I'm talking from personal experience. I'm not a chemist. I am not a formulator. I don't make these, and I don't know what are in, because and it varies by brand, what they put in their paste. But glitter pastes are their own little thing, and they especially are not meant to last forever. If you buy a glitter paste and you expect it to be good 5 years from now, never been opened, it's still brand new in the package, most likely no. Just is what it is. Some pastes, it's amazing how long this. I have some pastes on my little shelves and things that I have had for literal years, that I have used and shown in videos, that are still good. I have other ones that have completely solidified in their containers. Different brands, it's not brand specific. I will literally pick up the container and it's solid rock. You can't even get the lid out. It is solid rock. It's done. And it's just the nature of the products. So yeah, I don't recommend getting every single color of glitter paste for a potential down the road. Oh, maybe I'll use it, and then it's going to sit in a drawer or on a shelf for the next decade. If you put it up, and make it pretty. I've literally done that. I have some glitter pastes that are dried out, but they're a rainbow of them, and I refuse to get rid of them. They're pretty. I keep them as display. Why not? So with consumable products like that have, liquid, paste, etc., they're not meant to last forever. And I'm saying all this and kind of harping on it because I've seen comments and people very upset. They're just I'll never buy from this brand again. My glitter paste dried up. It's what happens. So I go on and on about that because I used a glitter paste in this video that I purchased probably a couple years ago. It's been a long time. When I say a long time, it's not oh, I got this 6 months ago or whatever. I'm usually talking years. So it was old. I opened it, and this is where I also made a mistake. I opened it the other day to make sure it still, wasn't dried out, because I honestly expected it to be, because, again, glitter paste. And it wasn't, but I knew it wasn't. It was near the end of its life. I've been doing this a long time. I should have sealed it with press and seal. I've also talked about this. I keep, my extra pieces. Press and seal. You get it at the grocery store. I will have a link to it. Simon Says Stamp does carry this in their shop because it is very hard for international people to find this. We can get it at our grocery stores, etc. in North America, but Simon Says Stamp does sell it. For those that aren't aware, Jennifer McGuire's husband, Ken, invented it. So, yeah, we've all got it. We all love it. We all use it for a variety of things. The biggest thing I use it for is to seal my jars of glitter paste. So like when I open a new jar of glitter paste, and I've shown this in videos, I immediately seal it with a piece of press and seal. And I keep this same piece. Every time I go to use it, I just peel it up, use my paste, seal it back up, and press and seal more than anything makes a massive difference. If you want to get extra finicky, you can press out all the air, seal it in really, really good, press out all the air, because that's what's doing it. It's exposure to air. It's dehydrating and drying up your glitter paste. I don't generally do that, pressing out all the air, but you can, and it will help. But I seal it with the press and seal, put the lid on good and tight. I've had glitter paste last for an unbelievably long amount of time doing that. Even then, with glitter paste, they can still dry out even when they're sealed. Like the one I used today, it was completely sealed. The jar hadn't even been opened. So that's just par for the course. And with glitter paste, they are, in my opinion, like speaking from experience, you cannot make them work again. If they have dried out, you can't add water and let it sit. Sometimes with other types of paste, you can add some distilled water. You can use Ranger's Perfect Ink Refresher that's in a spray bottle because that has some resins in it. And you can add some of that. And sometimes you can get, like, mix it up and, like, it'll rehydrate different pastes. Sometimes. But glitter paste, generally, no. In fact, I have an old one here. And again, I'm not going to name the brand because the brand is irrelevant. But this is another old one that I had purchased, I'm not sure how many years ago. And I didn't seal it with press and seal because I don't follow my own rules half the time, which was my own fault. It is completely solidified. I could put water in this, and let it sit. It's not going to do anything. The water's just going to sit on top and not do anything. It's not going to soak in. It's not going to do anything. It's just the formulation of glitter paste. But you can try it. If it's dried out, ain't nothing wrong with adding a little bit of distilled water. And I always say distilled water. This is going to be a really long intro, is what it is. I always say distilled water. People ask me that, like, why distilled water? Why can't I just use tap water? Because tap water has stuff in it. Tap water is fine for drinking, depending on where you're located in the world. But tap water is fine. I use tap water to, like, wash my stencils, to wash everything. We drink tap water. We wash everything with tap water. But when it sits for a long amount of time, it starts to discolor, and I will not put it in any of my products because it can eventually start growing mold, mildew, etc. So like any of my little jars, my spray bottles, things like this, these are all just distilled water and they don't go bad. And I don't know where I put it. I actually have... Yeah, when I moved everything around, I don't know where I put it, but I have an old Distress spray bottle, and it's yellow because it was what I'd used with tap water for years. And it varies where you live, all different things. But it's actually the water turned yellow, and it like stained the bottle yellow after, again, years, So distilled water. So I just keep a jug of it because same thing. I get it. My local pharmacy has, jugs of distilled water, and it lasts forever for me. And that's what I use to add to products that I just want to thin out a bit. Again, there's no formula for this. This is just what I do. Again, I don't work for any of the brands. I'm not formulating things, so nobody can come at me. But my thing is if it's like done for, if it's like dried out, or just, your option is literally throw it out or see if you can make it work again. Doesn't hurt to make it work again. There have been some products in my craft space over the years that I was like, wow, like this is done. This is done. And I mucked around with it, would add water, whatever it was I was doing just to see. And there have been times I have like brought it back to life. So is what it is. But glitter paste, yeah. So I used this one. I ended up making the card work. It was an adventure. And I only used this one because the Picket Fence Studios, their Luxe paste, that's what I was going to use, but I don't have the black one. I thought I did. So I will link to that one because their paste, they have many different types of pastes. I've shown several in different videos, and love but I didn't have that. So I was like, oh, I've got this black glitter paste, and I don't know if you guys can hear it. It like it was drying up as I was using it. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had, and I've been card making for more than 2 decades now. Yeah, when it decided it was its time, and it was its time. But I made it work, and then I thought I would do this ridiculously long intro talking about glitter paste. When I do the editing, I'm going to add a little like text blurb or something and tell people you can skip if people don't want to listen to me yap about this. But for those that have asked all these questions, and I always try to answer them, I hope that explains it. Yeah, any sort of like paste type product, seal it up with press and seal. You can use just regular cling wrap too if you can't get the press and seal. Press and seal personally is a personal favorite because it really does like seal. I do, after, you know, again, this is a couple years. I just noticed on this one container, I need to like put a new piece of press and seal. This one, it's not doing its thing no more. You can tell it's not sticky. Like if I try and press it against here. So yeah, there's my long-winded intro for these Halloween cards. And I will show you guys how I made these cards. And then I will have links to the previous couple Halloween videos I've done so far. And then I will be compiling all of these into a playlist for the 2023 Halloween card series so that people can find them all in one spot. In fact, that'll probably be what's linked at the end of this video, because once this one's up, I can start doing that. And yeah, let's get into the actual card making. Okay, so the first step to making these backgrounds was just some plain white cardstock. And I'm using my Tim Holtz Tonic Media Grip mats. I've shown these in previous videos. Tim Holtz has an entire video with all the info. So if you don't know what these are, go to Tim Holtz channel because he explains all the things. Could I have used my like waffle flower mats, grip mats? Totally. Yeah, I show all the things. All of these things work. All of them are great, and it all just depends on my mood. So I've got the 2 panels. And I'm using the Picket Fence Studios Mini Haunted Moon blending stencil. Again, I used this in my previous Halloween video, and I love it. And the little mask portion that I have on here, I had sprayed it with PIXIE spray when I did the last video, and it still got a bit of stick to it. So I just stuck it to these pieces of cardstock to create that mask. And then for all my blending, I'm using Concord and 9th inks, and then just some blending brushes. And I'm not going for a perfect blend. I sound like a broken record because I say this a lot. It's like, my blend's not perfect. I don't care. It's not going to matter because things are going to top of it. But it's true. This blend doesn't need to be perfect. This isn't the focus. The focus is going to be the fabulous bats. And I am going to add splatter and all the things. Also, like I've also said, my camera makes my blending look worse than it actually is. It doesn't look this bad in real life. It's kind of annoying. But these inks, just like Simon Says Stamps Positively Saturated inks, these inks do smooth out as they dry. Also, I was in the zone and totally didn't realize on the card front on the right didn't have the mask on it. So I got, red ink on the moon. And then I was like, when I discovered it, I was like, meh, going over it with some more red ink. It's supposed to be a spooky, creepy, eerie background. I will link to the specific colors I used. I've super sped this up just because this video is going to be really long. But I used Stardust. That was the yellow color. And then I went in with Spice Cider, which was an orange. And then Poppy, which was a bright red, very orangey red. And then Cranberry, which was a much deeper red. That was the last red I used. And then I'm going in with black and just kind of going around the perimeter. And again, it looks like a hot mess. It's okay. It's not going to matter. If you're planning on adding, splatter and elements and different things, don't stress about the blend, man. It's not worth stressing out. There's ways to get, easy blends and get them perfect and stuff. And I have done that. I have. But this didn't matter because I'm going to add all the things. And again, the inks smooth out. Plus, with everything I'm adding on top of it, it's just not going to matter. And it's also how that's, I think, another reason why I love Halloween cards, because you can kind of be a little extra messy and it just works, especially when you're going like spooky like I was with these cards. The messiness works. So when I was done blending, cleaned up my mess, put away my like grip mats, and for my splatter, I'm using Ranger Perfect Pearl Powder and some water, distilled water that I was talking about. But with this, it doesn't matter. You can use tap water. When I'm doing splatter or when I'm doing like watercolor, people have asked me that. I don't use distilled water when I'm watercoloring. I just have a big old mason jar that I keep here on my desk that I have tap water in, because I'm like constantly dumping it out and, you know, getting fresh water because it gets yucky because I clean my brushes in it, watercolor with it, splatter with it, everything. So that I don't use distilled water. It doesn't matter. It's for things that are sitting for long periods of time, like I said in the beginning. Anywho, I use the Ranger Perfect Pearl Powder with water for my splatter. And right there, that just, you know, helps. And plus it adds that extra shine and shimmer that I will show at the very end with my flashlight. And then, again, I could have used my grip mats to hold these backgrounds to do the stenciling. I just grabbed scraps of paper. I keep like all the inserts from like card kits and random like mailings that I get, and I use them as scrap paper. And I'm so glad I did, because, oh boy, this was the adventure. Like, I cannot even explain how bizarre this was. You can kind of see in the video. I think it comes across like how hard I'm pressing. This paste was just, it was done. It was done with me. It was done. I'm not even like, it's not even like that it was starting to dry up. It was literally drying up as I was using it. This is what I mean about, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a reaction like this quick before, because I could scoop it out of the container and start spreading it, and then it immediately started to dry. It was weird. But if any of you haven't picked this up yet, I am a very stubborn person. Like, to the point where it's sometimes a detriment. But, you know, I am stubborn, and I'm going to make it work. If I'm putting the time into something, or if you tell me I can't do something, you know, I'm like a toddler that you say no to. Like, good luck with that, you know? So I got the first one stenciled, and this is when I knew. I was like, I have no time. Like, this is go time. We got to get this on here, get it done, because there's no going back. And I scraped the bottom of this container, and I just pressed it through this stencil with my palette knife. I got it to work. I got it to cover. It was literally just solidifying. And I scraped off as much. You can see with, I'm going to scrape off the stencil so I don't have like huge blobs of this paste, you know, everywhere, because I didn't want that. I just wanted it covered. And as soon as I was done and I removed the stencil, I immediately took the stencil to the sink. I've said this before, with glitter paste especially, clean your stencils and your tools immediately. I don't even let them like soak in a container or anything like that. Like, I wash all my stencils as soon as I'm done with them. But any sort of paste, but again, especially glitter paste, because glitter paste is like cement when it dries, and it's just not worth it. Like, other pastes, generally, if you just soak them for a while, like warm soapy water, just let them soak, you can like clean them up, no problem. But again, like I did in my ridiculously long, like 10-minute plus intro, glitter pastes are just their own unique little thing. So immediately went and washed it, and you can see it's great. My stencil is saved. These backgrounds actually worked. I was honestly worried that maybe it wouldn't even adhere, because, you know, it was way, way, way past its prime. But it worked. I'm so happy. And in the end, it looks great. You know, I made do with what I had, and I'm glad. And I'll show again. In the end, like, there's the prettiest shimmer in this stuff. And this actual specific paste I use isn't actually not even available anymore. I'll link to a similar one though, just because it's by Tonic, and it's another like glimmer paste, and I'll link to it because they make fabulous paste. I've used Tonic paste and Tonic products for years and years and years. And like I had said earlier too, I will link to that picket fence one that I inserted a little image of during the intro. And yeah, whatever floats your boat, honestly. They're all great. They just have some unique little characteristics. So I set those backgrounds aside to dry, which obviously didn't take very long because it was drying as I was using it. And then for my die cutting, I used the Eek word die from Picket Fence. And I used just the die. I didn't use, there is an outline for it as well, but I used just the word die. And I die cut some of Simon's Crimson glitter cardstock, which I usually only use at Christmas. But I went like, I had meant to mention that. I went with a very different color combo. This is like reddy orange colors like this for Halloween or just in general. It's not something I normally would think of, like especially if I'm doing like a spooky sky. I do like maybe greens or purples, you know, deep blues, all that sort of thing. And I don't know. I was like, I want to do something different. I'm going to do, you know, orangey, reddy, like almost, you know, like fire colors in a sense. And that's also why I pulled out the crimson glitter cardstock, because I thought that would make the sentiment look really fun. And then I also die cut several scraps of black cardstock because I'm going to stack them together. Because as Laura Basson sings in her videos, dimension is life. And no, I'm not going to sing it. I've had some people get quite upset over the whole, like, just the concept of someone like singing a little jingle. You guys, the only reason I don't do it is my voice would just crack and, you know, explode in your ears and not be pleasant. When Laura does it, it's just, I get a kick out of it. Plus you learn all kinds of random facts. One of the recent ones was duckweed in her video. It amuses me. So anyway, so every time I'm stacking die cuts, her voice is in the back of my mind constantly. It's just there and it's comforting and I like it. Anyway, on the glitter cardstock, I did a tiny bit of ink blending. I don't usually do this because glitter is somewhat impervious to adding ink to. However, I used the black Concord 9th hybrid ink and just a very light little blend, and it worked. You know, you can see it. It created a kind of neat like ombre effect. And then I stacked them all together with the craft tacky glue. So the black cardstock layers and then the top layer being the glitter cardstock. So I've got my sentiment for these. And then once I had done all the stacking of the sentiments, I need to do the panels for the inside of the card. So I'm going to use the same blending brush. And I've mentioned this in other videos. I do not wash my brushes ever. I ain't got time for that. Literally, I do not have time for that. And I just don't have a need. So I just use my microfiber cloth and I rub it really well. If I am switching between, because like I've got, you know, the full sets of different color brushes, etc. And if I'm going between like a lighter shade to a darker shade, in this case, I went from black to gray. I just rub the brush on a microfiber cloth, test it on a scrap of paper, good to go. That's what I did. Then I pulled out my waffle flower grip mat because I could. Again, different tools, they all work wonderfully. Use what you got, you know, or what interests you, that sort of a thing. So this just held the stencil in place fabulously with my paper. And I just did two more just white cardstock panels with the, that's the Bat Crazy stencil. I don't even think I mentioned that because I was like going on about the glitter paste. This is the Bat Crazy stencil from Picket Fence Studios. It's part of their newest release and I love it. And yeah, that's the one I used with the glitter paste, cleaned it all off. And then I'm blending Concord 9th's Dove ink onto this white cardstock. This because I decided I want my card base to be black cardstock. So I'm going to add this little panel on the inside to make it easier to write something. And I wanted to do the stenciling with the gray ink versus black so that you can actually see, you know, when I write something. And then for my sentiment, this is a older set. This is the So Franken Cute. I bought this, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. I forget when I bought it. It's still available. I'll have a link to it. And it is a really cute set. This is also from Picket Fence. And I had meant to use it in one of my Halloween series and then never got around to it. And then I just came across it the other day when I was, you know, going through my stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, this set is great. So for now, I'm using just the sentiment. And I was inking up the sentiment with, this is Cayenne ink from Concord. Concord 9th inks are extremely juicy, similar to Simon Says Stamp's Positively Saturated inks. And I've had people ask me about that because they're so juicy, it's difficult to stamp with them, especially sentiments. A way around that is to use your blending brushes. I've shown this in a bunch of videos. I'll use my blending brushes to ink up my stamps. I'll do that. I've done it with oxide inks, distress inks, Positively Saturated inks, Concord 9th inks. Works great. You just tap your brush onto the ink pad and then just gently swirl it onto the stamp and stamp. It helps to have something like a MISTI or a stamp positioner so you can stamp it multiple times. And this also, it makes it really fun to do different ombre looks. So I use the cayenne ink on the top and cranberry ink on the bottom portion of the sentiment. It's a very subtle ombre. You guys can't really see it. In real life, you can kind of tell because, you know, it goes from the burnt orange to the cranberry color. And yeah, that is a way around super, super juicy inks. Use a blending brush. It makes a huge difference. So I stamped that sentiment onto those panels. My backgrounds are now completely dry, and I did decide to cut them down. I wasn't sure in the beginning. I was, you know, going to cover the whole card, and then I was like, no, if I trim these down and then I can frame them with some like deep red cardstock and, you know. So I trimmed these down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Yeah. Use my guillotine trimmer, trim them down, and then took this, I think this is cranberry cardstock. I'll link to the Concord 9th cardstock. It's fabulous as well. And I trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4. Yeah. And then I'm going to adhere them together. So that'll mat it real nicely. And then my card base is going to be, like I said, black cardstock. So I'm going to adhere these together with my craft tacky glue. And then I'm going to adhere the die cut sentiment on top of that. And I've mentioned this in other videos too. When adhering on top of paste, any type of paste, but again, specifically glitter paste, you want to use a really strong adhesive because it's just, when like dry glitter paste is impervious to everything. So a good strong liquid adhesive is what I recommend. And that's what I did. And then I just put my big Hero Arts blocks. I'll have like everything I use, I always link to with my supplies. So I just put those big blocks on top of everything just to hold it down while the glue dries. And then those panels that I had blended the little bats on and stamped the sentiment, those I had trimmed down as well to 3 3/4 by 5 and adhered those to the inside of my cards. My cards are A2 black note cards, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I adhered the card fronts to the card bases. And then for the last little bit of bling, I am using the Picket Studio Autumn Leaves Gem Mix. Oh, these are pretty. I used their other ones. It was Sands of Time I used in the previous Halloween video. Love those too. These ones have like green and then like kind of a burnt orangey kind of color and then a yellowy sort of color in a bunch of different sizes. So I used just the burnt orangey color and the yellowy color ones on these backgrounds just for a little extra something. They don't really look like much here, but again, in real life, they're super sparkly. Like they look like Swarovski. Really, I'm not even kidding. Like they're really pretty. So I just adhered just a few of them into place with dabs of craft tacky glue. Once I did that, these cards are complete. Turned on my flashlight on my phone to try and show just, there's like sparkle, obviously, in that sparkle paste. It's subtle and it has the neatest texture. It was worth the crazy adventure I went on. To get these backgrounds done. Totally worth it. It was so fun. And yeah, glittery sentiment, the bling, the perfect pearl splatter, all the things. These were just fun. And like I mentioned, I will have links to everything I used in the description box below the video. If you go to my blog, I will have all the pictures that are clickable and they go up like full screen and that sort of thing, so you can get a better look. Plus I have picture links to all the supplies, which just makes life easier to navigate. And I'll link to the other products, the press and seal and the Picket Fence paste that I mentioned, all that stuff. It will all be linked below the video and on my blog. So you can just check that out in the description box below if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for watching, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.